right, thank you, Ron. Thank you, Ron, for offering me this opportunity to speak at the session today. And also a big thank you to everybody who's been listening to all the sessions today. And I really appreciate your time. My name is D. Kumar. I'm a cloud solutions architect in data and AI space, and I work for Microsoft. Today's topic, Azure Modern Data Warehouse, is a topic of special interest to me, as I have been in this data warehousing industry for close to 2 decades now, and have seen it evolve in many different ways. So now to take this discussion further, let me draw your attention to this Gartner graph on stages of data analysis in a company. Most of you might have seen it already, must have seen it before, but I wanted to draw your attention to 2 things here, 2 observations. The ones are, if you look at the dependent axis or the value axis on this graph, the y-axis, you see that there is a ladder which tells you like, okay, if you're at the lower ladder, you are doing descriptive analytics. You go higher, you're doing diagnostic analytics. Higher is predictive. Then you go to prescriptive analytics. And that's good to know. And I know when I started in data warehousing, I was on the lower 2 ladders. But the world today is getting every business to the top ladder, because what you see, the outcome is that you or your company derives a lot more value the higher up on the ladder you are. But at the same time, I also now want you to pay attention at the independent axis or the x-axis, where we highlight the difficulty or the challenges businesses have in getting there. And most of the challenges, if you try to think about, and those challenges are what are causing us to not get to where we want. And that's the space where Microsoft is trying to help out in filling those challenges. So now let's see what are the challenges our customers face so that they are not getting to the highest stage of analytics. So there are many issues in the data. The data silos. As you have seen that our data 2 decades back, or even the last decade, we used to know how the data would come in, a very structured form of data. It would come from our operational systems. Our challenges would be how to make them work together, but those were still surmountable. But towards the end of last decade, we started observing that there was a vast amount of data which was floating near us, and we were not taking insights or factoring that into our analytics. And that's where caused creating of data silos, because the structured data could be handled we had mastered the way how to handle structured data, but this unstructured data was a new animal for us. So that's where we had to build different systems around to handle this data coming in with a lot of volume, a lot of variety, and at a velocity, which was a challenge for any business to handle. There were performance constraints, complexity of solutions. How do you build and how do you merge these together? And what was happening is you were kind of reaching the limits of your infrastructure expansion. And what did that run into? Rising costs. So what is the solution to get over these? The recommendation is to look for ways to do data consolidation and data democratization. We could not hold data in silos. We need to have it available to everybody, so the world or the company or the different groups in the organization can work together to drive business outcomes together. So the solution is to have one hub for all data. And that platform, or whatever hub we have for the data, should be able to support diverse types of data, should be able to scale and should be able to utilize, or the users in that should be able to utilize and build upon their investments which they have made. So what that means is the familiar tools they were using yesterday, they should be able to use them today and build upon it, and ultimately trying to bring down the total cost of ownership. So when we looked at our customers' data estate, and when we, in the last decade, the data space has been split between data being built on premises, operational databases built on premises, data warehouses built on premises, data lakes built on premises. Because data lakes on premises to capture the unstructured data which was coming to businesses from the last decade. But some companies who try to make their early adoption to cloud. In fact, today, it's 2020, 80% of our of the customers we talk to have their presence on cloud. So they had their operational databases, data warehouse, data lakes on cloud. So now any platform we try to build should be able to seamlessly talk to what the customer's investment is on premise and try to tie it to what it is on any platform and try to help them reason over their data anywhere. It should have a flexibility of choice as to what platforms are available, what tools they can use to get value out of their data, and have a great foundation of security and performance for whatever is to help the customers ensure that their data and their performance is at a mark where they can do their work. So here comes Microsoft. We deliver a modern data warehouse platform which supports all sorts of data, different types of data, so we can handle all of them to build one data hub, bring a way to bring together your operational data warehouses, operational databases, data warehouses, and data lakes together, reason over your data, and get it ready for the next phase, which is artificial intelligence. And that's the stage where you derive the maximum value to take your business forward. So for that, what we want is to build all the data at one place, and it's available to folks. So that is what we are trying to. That is a recommendation, and we do offer that full platform. So let's understand the Azure portfolio we have to support your analytics need. May that be big data or advanced analytics on your existing data. But before we go to the looking at the portfolio, we have to understand how our data comes to us today. So we categorize our data into data processing paths based on based on how quickly users want to get it out for analytics. You want to look at it, how quickly you want to get the data, how to look at the data on the analytics side. So the hard data is the data which comes from mostly the devices, sensors, and you are kind of monitoring things. Any failure, you need to be able to detect it right there so you can take actions. And that comes on the hard path. If this data is coming at a high velocity, you need to have systems in place to ingest this data and also to be able to report out of this data. Then comes warm data. This is a data with minutes of freshness, and you want to keep this data for a month or so. But after that, this can move to the cold, or it's no more needed for our daily analysis. But this data is the data which is of exploratory nature. It's the latest sales data coming in, or it could be you want to see how a particular promotion is going. You want it to be quickly available so you can take actions or move your stock around to make sure that things are pretty much in control. So for that, you have a different data path, and we do have services to support this warm processing path for the data coming in. And cold path or cold path is where it's the traditional way where we are used to systems where batch processing happening once a day or a couple of times a day was enough to meet our needs for the system. So these are the three data paths, and based on this, let's look at what we have on Azure. So here comes our complete data landscape. So before I go to the data landscape, look at the bottom layer. That is our supporting framework, which includes the network, the security controls, the management of the platform, all the suites. So these are fundamental to our supporting our data platforms. So now looking at our data platform left to right, Azure Data Factory. In the first block, I have all the ingestion tools put together. You can use the command Azure CLI, Azure SDKs, import, export, or Azure Data Factory. I'll be talking about it in the next couple of slides, but that is our ETL service available on Azure. It's serverless, and I'll talk more about it later. Below the ingestion layer comes the Azure IoT Hub, Event Hub, and Kafka. This is for your warm data coming in. It needs to come in, and it needs to be processed. It needs to be reported upon. And so we do have systems to tie into warm data path and to be able to report it to the end user. We have traditional SQL databases, and we have Cosmos DB, the NoSQL database, for capturing your both structured and unstructured and semi-structured data. We have the storage foundation, the blob storage and the Azure Data Lake Store, which supports not only all data types, but it does support the security needs and very fine-grained security needs for all your advanced analytic work. Then to support your governance and search capabilities, we have Azure Data Catalog and Azure Search. On the MPP side, massively parallel system, we used to have an appliance on premise, and we called it Parallel Data Warehouse or APS. But we implemented an MPP on Azure in 2016. And now this, in the next box, we have those data services which can process structured as well as unstructured data. Azure Synapse Analytics. This is an evolution of SQL Data Warehouse, which we announced in Ignite. We'll be going over a demo on this, and Azure HD Insight and Databricks for your machine learning needs as well as data processing needs. You can use that. Azure Stream Analytics, Databricks, again, to handle any warm data coming in or hot data coming in and taking it to our reporting platform like Azure Analysis and Power BI. We do have environments to support machine learning on Azure, Azure Machine Learning, the server, the Databricks. And then we have supplementing machine learning, we have the bot service and cognitive services to support all the APIs to support AI. So this is our full data landscape. And on the next slide, I'll show you the big data landscape boxes highlighted. I did talk about it, but this is pretty much a repetition of the old slide, but the boxes which are highlighted talk about the services available to handle the big data landscape. So now we come to the common big data advanced analytics scenarios. And what we are going to talk about is a little more detail into how modern data warehousing platform gets implemented on Azure. Definitely, any platform has to take care of these canonical operations: ingesting the data, processing the data, and serving the data. So we have the load and ingest layer, which, if you look at the graphics, it transfers the data and stores it in a storage. The next process should be able to process that data and cleanse that data. So basically all the transformations or any enhancements or you need to do that should be available in this layer. And serve layer, this is the real layer where everybody is interested in. What happens behind the scene is all the data scientists, data engineers work through it. But the business leaders look at what is served to them, and that's the serve layer. And we have processes built to we have systems available to help with the serve layer, which is the Power BI is a great platform, and same as a combination of other platforms as well. So modern data warehousing, this is more graphical. This shows how your data could be coming from multiple types of sources. It gets ingested. There should be a data orchestration and monitoring service to ingest the data. There should be a storage layer to handle the storage. There should be an exploration layer to explore what is coming in. So we can, this is also to do the development work. Next comes to build the prep and train or the analytics layer, and where you should have tools and services available to do the analytic engines available to run analytics on your data. And then comes your modeling and serve layer, which typically is a data warehouse, and that becomes the source for reporting into the BI, advanced analytics, and real-time analytics dashboards. Everything is built on the foundation of metadata management and governance. So how do we implement this on Azure? So this slide was a very general paradigm as to how you go and implement it in a modern data warehouse. But if it is, we have to do it in Azure, how do you do it? So same sources, Azure Data Factory is our ingestion ETL service layer on Azure. Exploration can be done within SQL Data Warehouse or Azure Data Bricks. Our storage is Azure Data Lake Gen 2. Data preparation and training happens in Azure Data Bricks. And your modeling and serving layer is typically put in Azure Data Warehouse. And the final, it's delivered to dashboards, or advanced analytic teams can work directly on the Azure Data Warehouse and take care of their reporting needs from this front end. So let's go into a little more detail into our services here. So the services we have, the first one is the Azure Data Lake Store. This, we went through a big announcement last year, last February. We used to have separate storage for all sorts of data, but if you had to do analytics, you had to pull your data into that location and run your analytics there, because there were certain things which were not available on blob storage. Typically, the way to create directories and work through directories, that was not available. But last February, we came out with Azure Data Lake Gen 2, basically eliminating the data, eliminating the need to duplicate your data to run your analytics in a different environment. So this data lake store is built on top of blob storage. It has all the, it has the file system capability to build your analytic workload, to run your analytic workloads right there. It has the encryption as well as the security and auditing needs, and it has enterprise grade support. So this has been a big announcement and a big release for us, because we had been trying for this to do this for a couple of years. So after this, you just can put all your data in one storage and then build your systems on top of the storage. A little more detail into it is secure because you have support for fine-grained access control at the file and folder level. And that's very essential when you're running, when the data scientists run their jobs. They like to typically put their data into raw and staging and different folders and work through the folder structure. So this does provide you not only the structure, but fine-grained control on that. We do provide Active Directory integration. We have automatic lifecycle management where the storage layers, like if based on how your data is you can, and what the needs are, you can define a lifecycle policy where the data from the hot layer can migrate to the cool layer, and then it can be archived based on its retention period. It's fast, scalable, cost-effective, and integration-ready. So Spark and Hadoop analytical engines can just work directly on Azure Data Lake Gen 2. Next comes Azure Data Factory. This is the hybrid data integration service which we have on Azure. This is the release version 2, which is available right now. It's a fully managed ETL service. It's serverless, so pretty much as many times you run ETL, that's what you pay for. So pay for your usage. It helps you create, schedule, monitor data pipelines. If you are a customer and you have existing SSIS packages running on-premise, we can run them as is on Azure. It's just a lift and shift operation of your packages, and we just have to create that environment and connect it to Azure Data Factory, and that should run great. And other thing I want to bring up, and this is the most important aspect of this, is it promotes cloud and hybrid data movement. It has over 90 connectors. So you can bring in data from platform A to Azure, and that platform could be a database, a SQL database, or any other database like Teradata or Oracle or Netezza or any other systems, but I will show you the list of connectors we have. You can bring data from other cloud platforms. So we have a number of, sources from which we can bring data in. And it does offer, you don't have to write, if you love writing code, we do offer an environment. If you do not want to write code, you are a person who likes to drag and drop and build your ETL flows, we have that option to do in Azure Data Factory. Next, it's Azure Data Bricks. It's again a Spark-based analytics platform, has been a first-party service on Azure, integrates very well with all our Azure services, and it is a great platform where you need to, when you're building machine learning models and you want to train the model, you're dealing with a lot of data sitting in the data lake, and this offers a great platform for you to do that and spit out the results and the final outcomes. So this is a great processing engine. So that's available very well and tightly knit to meet your analytics needs within Azure. Then there is Cosmos DB, and Antonio talked in great length about it, so you should be all up to date. But on this, to give you a perspective, it's a globally distributed, massively scalable, multi-model database. If you have needs for very low responses, low SLAs, we do offer financial guarantees on providing that anywhere in the world. It's massively scalable, supports a lot of different models, and guaranteed performance is what it stands for. Next, this is a new kid in the market. I would say folks who have not heard of it and not worked on it. This was a service which was released last year, but even though it was released last year, it has been a foundation of a lot of our systems in Microsoft before we let it go out. So before we released it last year. It's ideal for operational intelligence. Any real-time machine-generated IoT data, you want to analyze the patterns, do some anomaly detection, or run some kind of instant analysis on the data with very low latency and massive ingestion capabilities, this is a great platform for you to do in between. Like, this is another exploratory platform. It's fully managed service, works with structured, semi-structured, and free text data, but it offers extreme performance over large data sets. This morning, I was working with a customer which is unbelievable. They have an on-premise environment where they run a certain operation, and it takes them 3 hours to do that. It took them some time to bring the data to Azure, and today, when we ran the same aggregation and same logic on Azure Data Explorer, we were all amazed. It took 5 seconds. Even the customer couldn't believe the response time, that if they were doing something in 3 hours, how this is possible. For me too, it was a pretty pleasant surprise, but this is the level of capability it offers to run, if you need to do quick operational intelligence or you want massively fast processing, this is a great platform to put it into. And next is the SQL Data Warehouse. It's our MPP platform. Petabyte scale data warehouse, offers industry-leading price performance. You can independently scale your compute and storage. Integrates very well with Azure and SQL ecosystems. And in terms of performance, it's 94% less expensive. We did, GigaOM ran some comparisons and some tests on it, and they released it. I'll share it on the next page. But what they found was it was 94% less expensive than one of the competitors. But other than that, it offers industry-leading security, intelligent workload management, where you can control and optimize the utilization of your data warehouse rather than that being totally democratized and you do not get any response out of it. So this is a way to manage workloads. We do offer great workload management on this platform. And it supports your data. You can have the data sitting in the data lake, and you can still run queries over it in our SQL Data Warehouse, or definitely does support structured data as well. Like if you have structured data sitting in your tables, we do that is supported for sure. We do have integration with other tools like GitHub and DevOps to support lifecycle management. And this is our industry performance. GigaOM did the benchmarking on our 30 terabyte database across other databases in the market, Redshift, Snowflake, and Google. And this is where the comparison came, that it was many times cheaper than other databases in the market. Other than that, aggregate query execution time too, we see that in green is Azure SQL, is our Azure SQL Data Warehouse, and it's smallest. And if you look at this, the lower is better. So it is a great performance data warehouse we have on Azure platform. And next, and the last part of our presentation is I'm going to talk to you about Azure Synapse Analytics. That was the new announcement which came in at Ignite in November 2019. And this is where this matches with the title of my presentation, Bringing Data Warehouses and Databases Together. What is this? So right now, the situation is no matter it is on-premise or no matter it is on cloud, or Azure, we see that there are still silos created because there are different set of tools used for doing analysis on data lake and different set of tools for data warehouse. So they are, even though they're in same location, they're still siloed. We have to, we have different UIs to get in to work with them. So there is an effort here. So right now, the current state is we do have separate ecosystems today. So Azure brings these two worlds together into a single service to provide limitless analytics. So basically data warehousing and big data analytics all together into one service. And that's Azure Synapse Analytics. So what did we do here? What did we bring together? Synapse Analytics is basically we carve out a logical, it's basically a platform where we try to unify the UI experience as well as make it more seamless to work across technologies. And how do we do that? We have a data lake storage, which is the foundation for all your storage, like what we talked about. It is optimized for analytics. It has enterprise security built in it, and it supports common data model. What does that mean? So we have built-in subject areas, data models available. And once you have your data on data lake, if you are in the manufacturing industry, if you are in the healthcare industry, if you are in retail, we have many industry models, but your data, if you map it to the common data model, you can click and you have your data readily available to report in Power BI reports. So this is the integration, data lake integration with common data model. Next comes, how do you build in integration in terms of data? This is I talked about Azure Data Factory, but I'll show you in the demo how nicely it has been integrated into the Synapse Analytics. We do support two engines now within the Synapse Analytics workspace, the Spark and SQL. So our SQL data warehouse has been renamed to Synapse. So we have the SQL support as well as support for your data which comes in the data lake. And to run that, we have Spark engines. You can provision them or you can run them on demand. And you have folks who are comfortable with SQL, they definitely can work with SQL. But folks who are pretty much like to work in Python and Scala and Java or .NET, we have that full integration available as well, and you can run your code on Spark. Other than that, the user experience is through the Synapse Analytics Studio. You don't have to log into different an Azure Bricks environment, Azure Data Factory. You don't have to log into SQL Data Warehouse, the SQL Management Studio. Everything is brought together into the Synapse Analytics Studio. And with this built in, it's fully integrated to run your analytic workloads like AI, machine learning, IoT, and any intelligent apps or BI on top of it. There is a Power BI integration, which I'll show that to the demo. So all the management, security, monitoring, and Metastore, all these have been brought into the Synapse workspace. And you will see that in the demo that you don't have to go to the Azure portal to do many things once you have just created your Synapse environment. We call it the Synapse workspace. But once you have created it, you are in one UI and you can just switch your tabs and start working in that environment. So what do you have today? Today you have on the Synapse SQL Data Warehouse, which has been renamed. You do have Azure Data Factory available to ingest data coming from anywhere, any cloud data, device data, SaaS data, on-premise data. You have the data lake storage. You have Azure Data Bricks available to do your prep or analytics needs. You have Azure Synapse Analytics to do your modeling and serving to the Power BI. This is what it looks like. All your services and runtimes fully available, and it is one integrated environment, limitless analytics with unmatched time to insight. So you have the Spark platform, the big data platform, and your SQL Data Warehouse platform brought together. This is a list of features which are in GA available. You have materialized views, workload importance has been GA'd. So basically, if you are a CIO or someone high up and you submit a query and there is an ETL query running, your queries, if a CIO query or any other dashboards, important dashboards will run ahead of time. So this is what was introduced. But the things which are in preview, and that's what I know Tony mentioned, you need to watch announcements at build in later, and you need to watch what all features in Synapse 2 are getting into GA. The workload isolation, which is like if there is an ETL query, needs 20% of resource all the time, you just give that ETL query 20% of your resource. 80% of the query will be of the resource will be available to anybody else, BI users or self-service users or advanced analytic users. You will be able to isolate workloads, on-demand query, Power BI integration, Azure machine learning integration, data lake exploration. I'll be showing some of this in the demo. Streaming analytics, Apache Spark integration. You'll be able to hybrid data ingestion. We do have it now, but there are some more aspects which are being added there. Data Studio. We have already have the security to be done at the column and row level at the in the database, as well as dynamic data masking available. And private endpoints is something which will come GA. And how are we doing on time? It looks like we are getting close.
Oh, hi, Dee. Yeah, I'd go about another, let's do a demo for the next 8 to 10 minutes just to show all this comes together, but it's very powerful. And I think the right, almost a 200 level kind of talk, that's a great way to pull things together.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'll just rush through the couple of slides and get to demo. So these are basically, now that we talked about all the building components, this is some of the reference architectures. Should be, these are available on our website, but basically data ingestion through Data Factory, landing the data into the data lake, processing it for any advanced analytics through Azure Bricks, or landing it in Azure and building it all the way for reporting in Power BI. Next is if you want advanced analytics, we have a Cosmos DB integration where to meet the SLA needs, but majority of work is done on Synapse Analytics, Azure Databricks, or analysis services. So these are reference architectures. I'll be giving the slides over so you can definitely look through. These are reference, so you can always change it, modify it based on what you have on premise. And for real time, we have two data paths. One is for the cold and structured path coming into data lake storage. The warm path where data from the devices enters Azure through IoT Hub. HD Insights goes either to the storage or gets processed and gets delivered to the operational reports. I think with this, I am going to switch to the demo. This is the last slide, lays out all the tools we have for ingestion, store, BI, modeling all together, and they can be used appropriately for formulating the solution architecture. So this is a complete end-to-end of our data platform. And let me switch my screen to another. Are you able to see, or do I need to share this part of the session? Let's see.
What you need to do, Dee, is when you have to share a different desktop.
Oh, okay.
We're still set in viewing the PowerPoint.
Oh, okay. Let me see how to do that.
If you go to just click the share screen button, and there should be a couple of options to another tab or window. That's just for your browser.
Okay, maybe I have to stop sharing and then share again. Oh, new share. Okay, I see it. All right. Okay. So share. You're able to see this right now? Now
we can see it says SQL scripts.
SQL script. Okay, sure, cool. So this is my environment here. When you land into Synapse, this is your landing page, and you would it'll show which workspace you're landing into. But what I really want to show you is this is a platform to ingest, explore, analyze, and visualize your data. It's stratified into 5 hubs. The very first one is the data hub. And when we say data hub, here you will be able to see your data coming in from, oh, let me, okay, this is the data hub. So here you see data coming in from your data lake. You can see the data coming from your data warehouses. You can create more than one pools here, more than one data warehouses, or you call them SQL pools. And you can create your Spark environments here too. So anything in your Spark environment, your Spark tables. So all your tables pretty much, all your data assets will be visible to you in your data hub. So this is the data sets, whatever you create for your Power BI report or for running your ETLs. So all your data ecosystem is just visible right here. And one thing I wanted to show you is that if I go to one of the data lake file folders, like this is, I already have this Tutor data open, and this is a Parquet file. I want to look at what is in this Parquet file. I don't know Parquet. Then what do I do? Or so you can run a SQL query on it, right? Click on it, it'll generate a SQL query. So now you see that it's going to that folder, building the script for you to run the SQL query. You run it, and you will see the data coming in from your Parquet. So basically an environment where you are able to get the data from here or database, and you should see it coming. And next is, while we wait for this, there is a development hub. The development hub is where you can develop, where you develop all your exploration work, which you do, your SQL scripts, your notebooks. If you're a Python developer or a Scala developer, while the query finished, this is coming straight from Data Lake. If you look at it, you don't know what is in the data, but somebody just dropped this file into the Data Lake, and you can go and look at it, and you didn't have to write a single piece of code. Just right click and get the data there. Next comes our notebook. If you have built-in AutoML and big notebooks, you can build it right here. You don't have to log into another environment. And this is the code. This is, you just run it, and you get the output. So you don't have to go to another environment, launch another Jupyter notebook or other environment to build this your routine and run your results. So this is the notebook environment. Your development of, this is the ETL development, which I was saying, if you want to point and click and build your data pipelines, you're right here, and this is data coming from SAP HANA. Start from the source and build the logic, just point and click, and here we are telling, observe the data coming greater than 1/1/2014, and build the data asset and move it to Data Lake. So you can do all the ETL development work here. Similarly, Power BI, any kind of data set you build in or any reports you build in, you can just build all the reports here, right here. And the data is available from the data, everything is available. So all you need to do is point and click and build the logic to build your reports. So next comes the orchestration hub. Orchestration is whatever you are building. Now you have an ETL pipeline, all your logic is ready, and now you want to execute it. We have this function. This is an Azure Data Factory functionality merged into the Data Studio. So here you can build your pipelines, but if you want to set it to run, you can run it from here. You can debug it. And if you want to schedule it, you have a built-in scheduler right here to schedule a job. You can schedule it at a particular time, or if you want to run it every 15 minutes, you can run that, or you can schedule an event-based triggering to run your jobs. So that is our pipeline here, and this is our monitoring hub. So whatever you submitted, all your job runs, all your pipeline runs, all your trigger runs, whatever you have here submitted your pipeline, something you get to run it here. One thing I wanted to show you is by default, we configure the compute for running your jobs, but in case you need more compute, you can configure it and tie your jobs to that compute. And that's what here you can go and spin up your integration runtime and get your ETL done. And that's why we call it an enterprise grade integration service where you can pull things for the size you want and build it right here. Other than that, all your Spark jobs, you can monitor them here. Any SQL requests coming in, you can monitor them here. And so this is our monitoring hub. And last is where we manage our resources. You can create your resources or your SQL pools or your Spark pools for any data lake running any advanced analytic work, or you can see what is available. And this is where I wanted to show you on this tab is we have connectors to over 90 different services. So if you need to bring in data from Amazon S3 or bring data from Cosmos DB or any other database into Cassandra, into anywhere on the data lake or any other system, we have all the integration available, all the connectors available. So if you look at it file-wise, we have all connectors for the Azure stuff, compute, databases, SaaS services, Salesforce, all the clouds. So this is great to build your integration link service and then create your job. Access control, everything is in one interface. So this is my full presentation on the Synapse Analytics Studio. I know we are running short of time, and I think I'll stop right here. Ron?
That was absolutely fantastic because I think it tied it all together and everyone got a chance to understand exactly the power of Microsoft in integrating all these different storage platforms. A couple of things.